So I'm going to go ahead and get started, if it's all right with you all. I'm going to preface this on this slide to mention to you, while it's not obvious what my direct connection to PKU might be, I've been working with this area since I was a teenager because of my mother, who was a pioneer in PKU care. And so when I was in high school, that was my job. I measured blood phenylalanines for all of the patients in their clinic. And so I've been thinking and learning and hearing about PKU since I was a child. And so it's so impressive to me and it's so important to me as a professional. So I grew up to do some of the same kinds of work that she did. And I'm grateful to have the opportunity to be able to continue to serve your community as a clinician and as a scientist, and really grateful to be able to share what I regard as an extremely important project that your community has built. And so we're going to talk about the PKU patient registry. And I'm really, really hopeful that many of you will consider participation. So I'm going to talk a little bit about where we've been going with the registry. We're going to talk about the two new initiatives we have. Particularly, I know there are questions about the genetic testing program. So I want to be able to kind of go through that. So let's talk a little bit about what the patient registry really is. And the key to this for me is that this is a patient-driven research initiative. And that's a very unusual circumstance in the kinds of work that we do in biochemical genetics, for example. And that means that you, the community, are deciding what is important to you in research. This registry was actually launched in 2017. It's a partnership between this organization and the National Organization for Rare Diseases, or NORD. It's a web-based initiative, so it's something that you can access and participate in with virtually any device. And it's designed to allow patients and their families to share their health data and experiences in living with the condition of PKU. We really want to drive efforts that prioritize patient voices, advance research, and improve the quality of life for persons affected with the condition. We want to cultivate collaborations with industry, scientific researchers, regulators, clinicians, and patients and families. So this is really designed to serve the community. So how does it work? How does it work? Well, we're hosted on a platform that's been originated by the National Organization for Rare Diseases, their I Am Rare platform. It's cloud-based, and it has a reasonably user-friendly interface. All of your participation is through a very secure website with a high degree of security. I think people worry about their privacy, and I want to assure you this project is designed with your privacy in mind and your control over your information. To join the registry, it's relatively straightforward. Any place that has an internet connection, you can hook up to it and create your own password protected account. I think on the little flyer we have out there, there is a QR code that you can use to initiate that. And Lauren is here and will be happy to go through more with this during the time of the conference. So please, please consider that. Once you've completed the enrollment process by answering a few sort of straightforward questions, there's an informed consent document. This is a research project, and informed consent on your part is a necessary element for that. So please pay close attention to that consent document, but then you can start taking the surveys, and they're designed in sort of a modular process. So there's medical history survey, there's quality of life surveys, there's mood and behavior surveys, and you take as many or as few of them as you want, but we would love you to fill them all out, because the more information we have, the more you're willing to share, the larger the information is for your community. And so it's a gift that you give to your friends and family and others participating. We use this to kind of get a snapshot of what your life is like. And as you continue to come back and fill the forms out, it increases the knowledge we have about the community as a whole. So your continued participation is really going to be critical to our longer term understanding of this condition. And it's going to help all of the stakeholders and partners that are trying to improve care and the life of people with PKU together. So what makes your contribution important? And I'm just one person, you might say to yourself. Well, this really accelerates the very special role of patient-centered research. By sharing your experience, you help clinicians and researchers learn how to best serve the PKU community and focus on the issues that are important to patients and their families. And that's where the research should come from. As we work more closely and have more data, we're really in a position where we can move therapies from the bench to the bedside. That's the hallmark of what translational research needs to be. And rare disease research and drug development are expensive and time consuming. So registries like this one will absolutely accelerate research. And if the striving is for improvement of care and a cure, one of the ways you can do it is by contributing to this research endeavor. We use the registry in several ways. One of them is to expedite the identification of people who can be enrolled in a research project. And Lauren alluded to that. And we'll come back to this, but the genetic registry is going to be particularly important as the more advanced strategies for treatment of this condition become more available, because it turns out that genotype, your genetic constitution related to the condition, will be an important part of how many of those cures will ultimately be available. So the other thing we want to do is be able to inform patient-centric medical guidelines. So we really want to shed light for others, and this brings pressure to bear for improving research in areas such as the medical, emotional, and cognitive challenges that are experienced by the PKU community. You each contribute by sharing your information and stories. In part, if you participate in the registry, you amplify that voice. All right, now where are we? Whew, these numbers changed. That's good. We were hoping that people would help us change those numbers. I don't know exactly how up to date these, but they're changing all the time. Since our launch, I'm just going to round it up a little bit because I'm going to take the liberty of doing that. Nearly 1,300 adults and families with PKU have supported the initiative by enrolling, and we're grateful to each and every one of you for your willingness to do so. Well, collectively, we have more than 11,000 surveys over the last 5 years. We've accumulated participants from 36 countries, 47 of our 50 states, and good coverage across the age spectrum, with participation from infants shared by their parents on behalf of their child, to persons over age 70. About half of our participants are over age 18, and a very important element in understanding the continuing care for PKU. I want to turn briefly to the two new initiatives we really wanted to highlight to you all while we were here for the in-person gathering, which is extremely exciting to see. This is an initiative. I first want to turn to the genetic testing program, and there's some questions about that, and I hope to be able to answer if there are more with a brief question afterwards. But we're really excited about this. Is something we've been working on for at least the last 2 years. And this is a genetic testing program. It turns out, and I don't think anyone's going to be surprised to know that the precise genetic cause of your specific alteration in phenylalanine metabolism is really important for a variety of things, including your medical care, potentially for family planning, and for the research that we hope will lead to improved treatments. So the board of directors took this on as a priority to facilitate access to genetic testing. Like access to medical formulas, the insurance companies tend to be grumpy and inappropriate about access to genetic testing, which as a geneticist, I regard as an essential component in medical care. And it's particularly important in conditions like PKU, where knowing your exact genotype can have an impact on the exact treatment that you're going to have. So we felt that this was a very high priority item to increase access to genetic care. So this also improves our status for research readiness. So what are some of the things that this brings as a benefit to you as a participant? So this is only one component of medical care, but knowing your exact cause is really critical in understanding the severity of your condition. And while it doesn't tell you, for example, what percent enzyme activity you have as residual, if you have a genetic alteration, a variant that knocks out your gene's action completely, it tells us that you're going to have much more challenging phenylalanine control than somebody who has a variant that is more likely to retain some activity. It's also very important in terms of response to Kuvan, which only about half of persons affected with PKU can use as an effective treatment. But for those people who can use it, it's very fundamentally helpful and important. And so the American College of Medical Genetics and Genomics, I was really proud to be in on the original guidelines that were produced by that organization, and soon to come, ready and out for comment, are revisions of those recommendations. So hope to be able to share more about those in a future opportunity. But that one of the things we as a group decided, it was very important as standard of care to recommend genetic testing. So this is also important for persons to have family planning. Once you know what variants in your genes are responsible for your DNA, for your PKU in your family, this can help you make decisions about how you best manage what goes on with your future pregnancies. It also allows other family members to be informed should they choose to seek carrier testing. So this is sometimes referred to as cascade testing, but it allows other family members who may want to know about their own status with regard to PKU to have direct knowledge and facilitate their testing. It's also going to be really important, as we've emphasized, and I re-emphasize it, because it's going to be critical to further PKU research. As the search for a cure continues, it will often be on a genetic basis. And it will be important to know your specific genetic alterations to be able to facilitate those kinds of interventions. So we are not in a position to offer genetic testing to every single person that asks for it. And in many cases, testing is available to you through your clinician and paid for by insurance. And honestly, for example, in the clinic that I work with, we most always can get the genetic testing paid for without difficulty. But every once in a while, that's just not possible. And so what we've done is to create a circumstance where this is needs-based. If you don't have the financial wherewithal to do this and your insurance won't do it, you may be eligible for this free genetic testing available through the registry. So please reach out to Lauren if you think you might be qualified for this. I'm afraid we can test only adults at this point. You have to reside in the US. But it's really based on trying to lower those financial barriers to testing. So please let us know if you think you might be eligible. Lauren's going to be here during the program, and you can reach out to her at any point subsequently. So the other important initiative that I wanted to mention to you all is that when we started the registry, we did it the best way we could, but one of the things we wanted and hoped for was that people would come back on a regular basis and update their medical information. But we didn't really set it up in such a way so you updated it. We set it up so you did it all over again, and that was cumbersome and really hard to accomplish. And so what we have done is we updated the medical history survey because we learned that people were hesitant to come back and retake the whole survey. Of all of our surveys, that was the most complex, but also the most informative. So what we did is receiving feedback that that was an issue. We've now gone back and created a new format. And I want to emphasize this as someone who sees this registry as one of the most valuable things that you as a community are doing for each other, which is it's not just your baseline participation and willingness to offer data, it's adding to that on a regular basis so that we see how things progress through time. And this is going to be the heart of being able to show what we're doing to change care in PKU. So the first time you sat down to do this, It's now set up so that when you go in, if you've never taken any of the surveys before, you fill out the full survey the first time, but the second time you come in, you can answer the question that says, this is not your first time taking the survey, it's not your first rodeo. And that what that means is that you'll get a different set of questions that will update you or do an interval analysis of your health without having to answer all of the detailed questions. So if anybody has, all of those or participant in the registry who've been kind enough to go back in, we're going to be very grateful if you can check it out again and see that we hope it's been much easier. We think this is a super win-win. We hope that the new surveys are more user-friendly, and they'll really, what we're looking for, not just your attachment to the survey, which is very important even in itself, as a way to help you be accessible for research activities if you choose to do so, but the longitudinal nature of this, things that are going to change over time, are particularly valuable to each and every one of you as you share them with your community. All right, today, my advertisement, we have incentives, and we'd really, we think people really want to do this anyway, but it's kind of fun to be able to compete for a fantastic Yeti cooler. It's a really fantastic thing. So if you do your measuring your mood surveys this month, or do an updated medical history survey, you'll be registered for a chance to win that cooler. You'll also be, if you're measuring your mood, be in the incentive, the July incentive, which is a $250 Amazon gift card. So, and they're cute koozies that you can get if you register. So, and we know that it's not about those. Those are just compliments for people's participation, but they're kind of fun. And so we really hope that you will make every effort to gather the information, take a look at the registry, and consider whether this is something that you would be willing to give as a gift to your compatriots and to all of the other members of the community, this gift of your information. I want to give a special thanks. This has been a really important change in my professional life, to be a member of the board and to participate in this way and be able to give back to my knowledge community as a participant and support for the registry. And so we're grateful to the National Organization for Rare Disorders that they've been willing to develop the infrastructure and to shepherd our ability to have this registry available to the PKU community. And the other thing I want to acknowledge is the absolutely fantastic registry community. Registry committee that is part of this. All of these decisions are made with the registry committee, which is filled with fantastic professional experts, many of whom are parts of your PKU family. They have children, they're affected themselves, and they know their own responsibilities regard to the community and why the registry is important. I don't know if there are members of the registry committee here. I would actually ask you to stand up if you'd be willing to be acknowledged, because this committee is, I don't know how many people were able to come, but it's a fantastic community. And you should be really, really proud of it. So with that, I will just offer thanks also to Lauren for her directorship of this. Lauren is another absolutely outstanding professional, trained as a genetic counselor with unique experience in dealing with patient registries. And we're very fortunate to have her as a member of the staff shepherding this really important project. With that, I'll end my conversation, and I don't know if I'm supposed to have some time for a couple of questions. Yeah. So, questions?
And again, Lauren will be outside. There's great information. And as everybody has mentioned, a critical part of everything that we're doing here. And a passion project for both Dr. Berry and for Lauren. So thank you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, John.
Quick question. It seemed like the registry is very valuable to the any thought to back to the fundraising charge that.
So one could consider part of it's not, I think, strictly designed for that activity. It's really to facilitate and make sure that pharma knows what the PKU community wants and to provide potential access to information will help them advance cures. Could it be used in a monetary way? It could be. I don't know. I mean, that's a tough decision because, and this is a philosophic thing. And I think it's a gift from the community. It should be used to serve the community. If part of that might be gaining some financial compensation for the organization for that, I can see where that could be justified. But I think the general thinking is to really make it as available as possible so people will do more with it. So it's a balance because that's not outside of the question. It is one of the things that's very special about the registry. It's really the property of the community. And the community decides how it wants to be used. It's not funded by the NIH. It's not a federal property. It's private property owned by this organization. And it's for the benefit of this organization. And it's for that reason, incredibly important asset. I think that's what you're alluding to. It is indeed an important asset for all of you. The more you contribute, the more valuable it becomes to your community.
Great, thank you, thank you. Have a safe trip. Good, okay, thank you.